Righto. So this is going to be the second of 3 parts, so that I can keep them brief. The previous one was some decks that I don't use all that much that are not all that rare. The Nouveau Tarot is a little harder to find, but everything else is sort of out there. But you could enjoy these and want to trade. This next group is a little rarer. Most of them are out of print or harder to get, but they're good for the most part, and I just don't use them all that much. The first one, I feel like I can't really show on YouTube. It's Tarot Erotica by Lori Walls. It's a pretty I mean, it's pretty in its way. It's a pretty bondage based. I don't know why I bought this. I think it may have been like youthful rebellion when I was like 19. But I can't show it. If you're familiar with it and you Google it and you're over 18, you can find images of it. It's a very sex positive deck. It's not exclusively white. It's not exclusively heterosexual, although it's primarily white and primarily heterosexual. It is kind of bondagey, but the art is, it's pretty. Pretty is the wrong word. It's it's impressive. I don't know. The back of the deck looks like this, and then you can sort of see what the cards look like. The suits are rods, cups, swords, and stars. It's I don't know what to say about it. It's a deck, and it's erotic, but it's not a joke. You know what I mean? It's not like a pack of like naughty cards that you pick up as a child to share with your friend. It's it is about sex and it's sort of all its permutations. It's not being ironic. So the next one is not that at all. This is Tarot of the Spirit. I there's a book that goes with this, but when I bought it, it was just the deck. So I do have the box. I do have the little white book. I think the book is still in print, although I couldn't quite find the a listing for it. But I think it's still in. I think this is still in print. I do have the title card and the extra card. I just don't use this one because it's a little more crawly-ish, a little more thothy. But the art, particularly in the majors, is really pretty impressive. It's really beautiful. Striking, really. I mean, it's very rich. I feel like if you have an interest in sort of esotericism or ceremonial magic or that sort of thing, this could really be an interesting deck, an interesting alternative for Frida Harris's artwork, which, by the way, is also really striking. It's just not my jam. That I don't. I have never really responded much to Aleister Crowley and to the Thoth deck. The suits are the elements: fire, water, wind, and earth. And the courts are brother, sister, mother, and father. They do have keywords on them. Again, you get a sense of that kind of spiritual art that Lady Frida Harris gave to the Thoth deck. There's a little bit more peopling of the cards, but not much. So you can see they're very in line with that deck. But there is this book that goes with this, which is still available. It's really beautiful art. Just not my thing. Next is a deck I really, really like. This is a Muller deck and a Mueller. This is a little white book, but it's a lot more substantial and not staple bound than the traditional little white book. This is Tarot Roots of Asia. Again, have the box, have the book. Another sort of set of breathtaking paintings for this deck. And again, just something I bought on a whim, as I did back then. You know, I just sort of wanted every deck. I was on that search for that perfect deck, and I never found it. And along the way, I found a lot of decks that were really beautiful that I just didn't respond to. Fairly standard in terms of the titles of the majors. The art's really evocative, though. It's not... I wouldn't call it abstract, but it's not literal. And then he turns to a much more literal card. Oh, Ben. The pips are illustrated. Not fully the kind of illustration that tells you the sort of Rider-Waite-Smith type meaning of them, but they're really, really beautiful. It reminds me a little... no. I was going to say it reminds me a little bit of the tarot, the Shadowscapes tarot, but darker. But those images, those paintings are more meaning-based than these are. So, again, just another stunning deck I just didn't, ever connect with. Or part of that, too, I think, is time. It's like I could have, I just didn't. This deck, I had high hopes for and just didn't like. I don't have the little white book. I do have the box. This card's still in here. No, it's our fool. I also have the title card and the artist card. Why don't I like this deck? Well, I'll say this. I like the majors quite a bit. It's such a stupid thing to say. It's kind of a hunky deck. There's like a lot of shirtless men with muscles in it. I remember thinking the Emperor looked like Christopher Plummer in The Sound of Music. I like the Priest. It's very, like, this card sort of sums up the deck for me. It's very, like, pretty white people. And there's nothing wrong with pretty white people. I remember the Chariot reminding me of Joaquin Phoenix. It's like, it's a very heterosexual deck. The majors are fairly straightforward. I actually like the majors, as I said, for the most part. The minors are stained glass themed, and what you sort of get is the evolution or devolution of a pretty white couple. I feel like I'm making... It's beautiful art. Like, it's so pretty. It's just... It reminds me of Disney, and it's just not me, The court cards go back into a more realistic-ish quality. Maybe it's because I'm a gay man. I don't know. It just doesn't. It's beautiful. I guess I respond to it too politically. Like, it just sort of has this. Women tend to be sort of submissive in the way of fairy tales. I guess I just look at it and I expect to hear Angela Lansbury narrating the reading to me. Which actually, if Angela Lansbury started narrating the reading to me, I might actually like it. So it's beautiful. It's in great shape. This one is out of print. This is one of the ones that's a little harder to get, apparently. When I did some searching on eBay and whatnot, it was up there. But if you love it and, there's a decent trade, it's not like I love this deck so much that I would be heartbroken to give it up. The next one, I am slightly heartbroken to give up. Again, it just didn't... So this is the Children Tarot. Again, I have the little white book. I've got the box. Obviously the deck. This may be the single cutest deck ever. I do have the title cards too. Why didn't I bond with this deck? Primarily because the minors are more pip based. There are illustrations on them, but they don't quite necessarily give you much to dig into. But what you do get are the most adorable illustrations. It reminds me of Maury Sendak a little bit, and that ilk. You know, just the kind of stuff you loved as a child, the books you loved as a child. You know, even the Hangman's cute. Death is cute. It's cute. Like, there's nothing to say about this deck that's just, it's cute, it's charming, it's adorable, and I just never used it because I wanted something a little more to sink into in terms of the minors. But you can see, you know, it's adorable, and I never used it. I don't even think I shuffled it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like most of these decks. The last one I showed you, the Art Nouveau deck, I did use. I tried to make myself like it and just, you know, couldn't. But anyway, so that's that deck. I love it. And I feel like I don't want to give it up, except I feel like someone could really love it, and why deny them that? So those are the ones. I've got one more video, 3 more decks. These are a little rarer or a little more in demand based on my research. So I'll list the titles of all of these below.